Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to be working on my tiger bark ficus. It's a root over rock composition and it's planted in a 3D printed pot. Here's a look at the tree. So I last pruned this tree up in December of last year, so it's been almost a year since I pruned it up. So this is the tree that looks kind of like an elephant from this side. You can see the elephant's eye and the trunk and the tusks. I don't know if I want to style it to look like an elephant. I'm not sure, but I think this is a better front for the tree. It comes towards you, and I think it shows the roots off better. I mean, they're cool roots on this side, but I think this side is the better front. So today I'm going to prune it up, and I may repot it also. The pot that the tree is in now never had the legs underneath the pot. And I have one over here that does have the legs. I have 3 of these pots. And this tree isn't really close to being a show tree, but my tiger bark ficus here is sort of getting close to becoming a show tree. So I was going to take it out of this pot and put it into this pot. I'll begin today's work by pruning up my Ficus microcarpa, and then I'll repot it into the other pot. The trunk on this tree is very curvy and it has a lot of taper, so I want to continue that style. So any of these straight sections will have to get pruned back so it has taper and movement. I don't want, long straight sections. I think it would just spoil the styling of the tree. And I've got to decide what I want this style to look like. If I want it kind of windswept, I don't think I want it growing upright. I think, the main trunk line will probably be this one. And again, I'll have to prune it quite far back to get rid of this straight section here, or prune this away and develop the trunk line behind. It is even possible to develop that as a trunk line, but I don't think that would look good. It doesn't really flow well enough. Yeah, so there's a lot of decisions to make on this tree. If this was the front, I would definitely, use this as the trunk line. But I don't like this as the front just because the tree goes away from you. I'm going to begin the pruning. I'll take out some of these dead branches. Clean up my stubs. And I think this branch is dead here. Yeah, it is. That's gone. So now I've got to pick a trunk line. Do I prune off this back trunk, or do I develop that one? It is kind of going away from you, which is a disadvantage. I mean, you can have them go away from you and then come back towards the front, but it's not so desirable. This is the better trunk line. If I prune off this one back here, it kind of is a bit straight in this section. But it might look good, as I said, as kind of a wind-blown style. Do I prune this branch off is another question. Oh, it's a tough, very tough. Another dead branch here. Get rid of that. Yeah, it's difficult, very difficult. I could also keep this as a back branch, just prune it back shorter. Let this one grow so it eventually becomes thicker than this back one. It's a possibility if I want to keep more branching in the canopy. Well, I'm going to prune off this upper part of the back branch. It's very straight, and I'm going to prune it back to this first branch. So here I go. First big cut of the day. Done. So there it is from the front now. Looks quite different. And then I'm going to prune that back to this lowest branch here. Like that. Again, reducing that back. It definitely has a windblown style to it now. Now, what to do with this branch? I could totally remove it. It is sort of on the inside of a curve here. I'm going to get rid of the upper part on this branch. So I'll come in and take that off. I'll prune this one to a downward facing leaf. Like that. I'll prune this one back. I will prune this back one back to here. And this one back to here. This one I could prune back to here. Making everything as compact as possible. There's a stub I can prune out here. So I'm looking at the tree now, and this branch kind of runs parallel to the one at the back. They're kind of like two branches. And I'm thinking, you can see on this branch, it's already swelling at the base of it and kind of creates, it doesn't, the trunk line won't flow. It kind of interrupts that. It's kind of a bump. So I'm thinking of taking that branch off. It's a nice branch, but I think it's just in the wrong place. So here I go. I'm going to reduce it to a stub at first. Like that. And then I'll come in with the pruners and reduce that bulge back. Now, should I go further than that? Probably. Making a good scar there. Okay, we'll see how that heals. That should heal fairly well, I think, and quite quickly because it's on the trunk. You can see all these scars heal quite nicely. And it'll give it some more character in that area. So there's what I'm left with now. And yeah, it's interesting. I think I've got to prune this one back too. Like that. So it's definitely kind of a windblown style. And I think it'll suit it. I think it, once this fills out with growth, I think it'll look really good. It looks a bit bare at the moment, but that's the way it is after pruning. So this is planted over top of a rock I made. It's a concrete rock. I got a sponge and I impregnated it with concrete and then finished it. And you can see it's not a bad looking concrete rock. Probably a natural rock would look better, but I don't think I'd want to replace it because all the roots have grown around it. And it's got a lot of patina on it now. I think it looks quite convincing, and from the front you don't see a whole lot of the rock anyway. I don't think anyone would ever, they probably wouldn't know this is an artificial rock. So I think the next step is repotting. I will put some rubber cement on all my cuts here. So I'm using the Titan brand. Any rubber cement works. And the rubber cement stays flexible, so as the tree heals, it doesn't interfere with the callus tissue. Yeah, I think that's good. Here's a look at the tree from above now. You can see the kind of flowing windswept style. And here's what I took off today. So most of the tree, a lot of branches and foliage came off. I pruned my other tiger bark ficus in my Chinese village penjing back quite hard, and you can see now there's all kinds of new shoots growing in on the trees. So they'll become quite dense with growth once all these branches start to extend and develop. So it's good to see it recovering so quickly after the pruning. I'm hoping this tree does the same, and I think it will. It'll get all kinds of new shoots and branches coming off of it. Okay, let's get it out of the pot now. Okay, I will try and loosen it up at the edges here. Oh, it's packed in there pretty good. So this tree doesn't have much room for roots to grow because the rock's in the pot. Can I pop it out? Yeah, okay, it's coming out. That was easy. A few bugs in the bottom. Okay, so one piece drainage screen in the bottom. You can see the bottom is all just that artificial rock. So I'll need to get my drainage screen out. A few roots have grown through the drainage screen, and I think I'll have to snip them off once I find my pruners. There we go. There. Yeah, so you can see the, because this rock is built around a sponge, it's hollow, so it's quite lightweight. My next step, I'll have to comb out the soil and the roots. So here I go. Say goodbye to all that lovely moss. It's amazing, you know, how these ficus can grow on such little amount of soil. Because it's never been unhealthy, this tree. It's always grown well. As long as I keep up with the watering and misting, it seems to do really well. Now it is possible I could plant it, remove the rock and just, you know, build up a mound of soil and plant it on top of a mound of soil if I don't want the rock there. I have to decide the value of the rock in the composition. Is it important, or is the tree important? There's a few roots that kind of circled around the pot a bit, but not too much. Yeah, it wouldn't be hard to get the tree off the rock. The other possibility is to raise the rock up higher in the pot and have the roots go down into the soil and have more soil underneath the rock, so it would have more soil volume for the roots to grow in. Okay, so that's got most of the soil removed. I'll go over to the washing station and just wash out the rest of the soil from the roots. Clean up here, and then we'll come back and make some decisions. I've got the roots all washed, and whenever I'm bare rooting ficus, I'm always checking for root nematodes, and I found some on this tree. If you look at the roots here, you can see bumps all over the roots. So that's like an insect that lives in the root system, and it forms a gall around the insect. So it's a tricky thing to get rid of. Root nematodes, they like moist soil. So all you can do is kind of keep your tree on the dry side, and I'll try and remove as much of this bumpy root system as I can. And that's about all I can do, and hope they go away. There are, nematode sprays that you can treat soil with, but they're pretty strong, and I think they kill everything, plants and everything, so I don't think you want to use it on bonsai. I know Adam Levine from, what's his channel called? He has a blog. What's his blog called? I forget the name of it. Anyway, he tried putting like crushed crab shells, not crab shells, lobster shells in his soil, and that's supposed to dissuade them. So sort of like a diatomaceous earth, something sharp. There's some on here too. I'll have to take this one off. Yeah, it's I don't like finding them on my trees because it's very hard to get rid of, and it does affect the health of the tree. But it's a fact of life. Yeah, they don't seem to be over on this side. Well, maybe they're a little bit over here. Not as much. Yeah, all you can do is put like a loose porous soil mixture and kind of let it dry out between waterings and hope that kills off the infestation. So I've pruned them away from, as many of the bumps off the roots as I can. And still have a root system. And then I'll spray the roots with the soap and water. I don't know if it helps because I think they live inside the roots, but they do, I believe, travel externally in the soil. So this might help. I guess we'll know with the next repotting how it's doing. We'll keep a sharp eye out on this. So I'll dispose of these roots. And nematodes are just something that exists in soil. Okay, so next I have to get the other tree out of the other pot. So I will put this tree aside over here and get out the other tree. Alright, let's see if I can get the tree out. And this tree hasn't been in this pot all that long. I think it's only been a few years. Lots of roots. Looks like a spider egg or something there. Oh, it's a... No, that's another pill bug. Okay, so I will put this tree over here with the old pot, and I'll go wash out this pot, get it all cleaned up, spray it down with soap and water, and then plant the tree. I have got the new pot all cleaned up. So I'll give it a spray with the soap and water just to be sure there's no nematodes anywhere. Give the roots one more spray. So now I've got to decide if I'm going to plant the rock higher. And, you know, I don't want the rock overpowering the tree, which I don't think it will. So if it was planted up higher, it does look a little heavy in the pot. Whereas if it's, you know, down lower, it's more tree than rock. Higher. And it looks very heavy if it's too high. I don't like that. Looks like it's, you know, under potted. Tis a difficult decision. There's not much room in the pot with that rock in there. It's kind of like there's just a few little corner pockets of soil. I could easily remove the rock and just pile the soil up and make it kind of an interesting exposed root planting. I think health-wise that'd be the best thing for the tree. Do I want to do that? That's the question. Well, I don't love the rock. I mean, it is an artificial rock and it will come off easily. You can see here the roots are growing into the rock. There must have been a crack in the outer layer of concrete. Yeah, they're growing in there pretty good. I'm going to have to snip that off. Like that. Yeah, and I think I could plant it without the rock. Yes, I'm taking the rock away. I think a mound of soil would do the exact same thing, increase the health of the tree, and I'd probably get more roots growing. So I think that's what I should do. If I do that, I have the chance of changing the planting angle. So I could tilt it to make it even more dramatic, the windswept style. I kind of like that. Or I could keep it like it is. I think I kind of like it like that. I do. Tilting it a bit more. Gives it a little more drama. Now, because I don't have the rock there, I have the opportunity to maybe do some root arranging. Trying to improve the root base. So there's a lot of tangled roots here, and they can look good, like a kind of like a spider web of roots. A lot of ficus in nature get them. But usually you build those up on your primary roots. You try and get your radial roots first, and then the network of lighter, smaller roots goes over top of them. Otherwise you just end up with like a ball of roots that doesn't look very sorted or anything. I'm just having a final look at the composition. If I could push the tree over more, I think it would look better. They give more room for this kind of windswept part. So I think I need to do some root pruning on the side of the tree. You can see I've got lots of roots here to prune. So there's one that curls around here. I'll take that off the end of it. This one kind of curls around. I'll take that off too. Some of these can be pruned back. This one can be pruned back. And this one has nematodes on it. I'll get rid of that. This one's pointing up. I'll get rid of that. This one can be pruned back. These ones can be... I think I gotta prune this back further. That allows me to get it over a little further in the pot. Not a lot, but I could prune the end off this one. It's got another root underneath. I could shorten this one a bit more. This one could definitely be shortened. And these could be too. There's more nematodes there. Better clean out this area here. Get rid of that old soil. I don't want, rich compact soil. Otherwise the nematodes will flourish. I've re-washed the roots and I cleaned out a lot of soil that was underneath the trunk here. So I can do a little root pruning here, get rid of these ones growing underneath the tree, keeping my radial roots. I will give it a final spray down with soap and water. Like that. And then I can get a base layer of soil and position the tree. So these root nematodes, I had them on a tree once before and I tried to get rid of them and I wasn't successful. And the tree just slowly declined and eventually I ended up just throwing it away. So I hope I can keep them under control now with the soap and water on them, with a very loose granular soil, and let it dry out between watering, and hopefully I can get rid of them off of this tree. Okay, here goes my base layer of soil in the pot. I think the tree will really like having the extra room to grow roots. So these root nematodes, it's one of the reasons I don't really like reusing old soil. Because if you do have them in the soil, you can transfer it to another tree. Okay, I'm going to place the tree now. And this will be the tricky part, getting it looking just so. I think that's about the angle I wanted. And I do like the placement in the pot. I think it's good. I do have a root sticking up here that I'm going to prune away. And I'll try and get these ones into the soil. It might take a little rearranging of them. That might be the best I can do. How's it looking? think that's looking pretty good. Looks very dramatic, this windswept style. Okay, I'm going to start adding some soil now. Filling in the voids. So I'm just working the soil in around the roots, making sure it has good contact everywhere. And these are pretty big chunks of soil in here, which should help it dry out a little quicker too. I don't think I missed the rock at all. I don't. It looks quite good. I'm just taking a final look. Yeah, I think that's looking the best it can. My soil's piled up quite high on this side. I could take a bit of that off at the base of the tree. I've completed the planting, so now I can water the tree. All right, here I go with the water. I'll rotate the tree around now so you can see it from all angles. So here is the front, coming around to the right-hand side, and around to the back, and the left-hand side, and back to the front. So I don't miss the rock at all. I think the rock was sort of an insignificant part of the planting, and the roots kind of grew over the rock, so you didn't really see much of the rock anyway. So it's kind of a more of an exposed root style now, windswept. Yeah, I think it's got a good future ahead of it. I finished the repotting of my tiger bark ficus, but I still have my Ficus microcarpa back here to repot. And I've been at this all afternoon and it's starting to get dark out now, so I don't want to rush the repotting of that. I think I'll probably put it in a different bonsai pot. So I think I'll do that on tomorrow's video, repotting that Ficus microcarpa. I'm really happy with this tiger bark ficus, both the style of the tree and everything about it. I think it's going to be a cool tree to develop into the future. So that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.